All right, so page 86 for your reading. All right. All right, Dennis, you want to start us off? 86? Unmute, Dennis.
Can I read Miss Fulgence?
Yeah, I'll call you after Dennis. 86, Dennis?
If you were to go snorkeling, you might find the very strange fish. This fish is so unusual that it doesn't look like a fish at all. Some say it looks like a plant, but others say it looks like a horse. Have you guessed what this fish is? It is the seahorse. The seahorse is a tiny fish, but it's a tiny fish, not much longer than a child's finger holds up its horse-like head. Look, it's right around that way, just as claws do when they are getting ready to run. But unlike a horse, the seahorses have no feet, only a long tail and fins. And it is its tiny fins are very quickly moving the seahorse towards the place it ran.
Okay, good. All right, so this story is obviously about a strange fish, but as we read about it, what fish is it actually about? A seahorse? It's about a seahorse. Okay, 87, Avaya. $87, Avaya.
Wants to go, but the seahorse cannot swim as well as other fish. So how does it protect itself? How can it hide from danger? God created the seahorse with incredible eyesight. Each eye can move independently from one another. This means one eye can be looking forward while the other eye can be looking behind. Of its special eyes, it can see danger coming from any direction. The hungry stingray cannot.
Okay, you can
sneak
stop
up.
there. Thank you. All right, 88, Mariah.
It coming from any direction. A hungry stingray cannot sneak up on the seahorse. You have to know the seahorse cannot swim away quickly. God gave it the ability to change. So when danger comes, the seahorse will.
Okay, 89.
Change the color of a nearby plant or rock. It is almost as seahorses are called frogs. They swim quickly to
their water. When they on in danger, the water was a head of pocket.
Move on.
The other side of its body. When danger is near, the flies get into pockets to hide. When the seahorse gets tired to it does something else that is very dangerous. Its wings a shape like trails around the seaweed. They're tied to the seaweed and sleep out while the water rocks it up and down.
Okay, Faith, 90, and just finish on 91.
Said 90.
Yeah.
When it is rested, it unwinds itself, then off it goes with his fine little head. Held high, why did God design such a strange and special creature? The Bible gives us the answer in Revelation 4:11, it says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created, all of the little things that
Okay, good.
make the seahorse so different from others." Can you read in your mind, Taylor? Other fish
Okay.
please the Lord when people study the special design of the seahorse. They will remember its brilliant creator.
Okay. All right, good. So that's about the strangest fish, seahorses, and all the cool things that seahorses can do. Good. All right, go ahead and get at your science and social studies. Let's go over our lesson for this week. Science and social studies. No. Oh. All right, let's go to page 139. We're gonna skip a little bit, guys. Let's go to 139. In your book, Science, 139. Yes. Yeah.
Mom, you need to go anywhere else today?
Huh? Oh, you're not talking to me.
Bye.
And rapping, yes, and hungry.
Oh, you too. Bye, Mom. Mimi, aren't you gonna say bye?
Okay, 139. Okay, what did I do? One 39. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of things this week in science. The first one being states of matter. So everything around you is made of matter. So it's something, what it is something, an item was put together to make this certain object. Okay, so matter can be found in three forms of state. You can have a solid, a liquid, and a gas. That's the three forms of matter. Things can be in a solid, things can be in a liquid, and some things can come as a gas. So let's talk about all three. Let's start with solid. Dennis, you can read on solid. Yeah, Faith, you were last, huh? Solid.
In what page, Miss Lugins?
139. Reading on solids. You got it. Oh, Dennis, you're on mute. We can't hear. Start over.
Everything around you is made of matter. Matter can be found in three forms or states: solid, liquid, or gas. Some kinds of matter can be used to make things. Bricks, clay, glass, and wood are solid matter. Solids can keep their shape. Some solid matter is very hard, like a piece of rock. Some are soft, like a cotton ball. Some solids are shapeable, like clay. Some solids are stretchy, like a rubber band. Some solids are easily to break, like glass. Some are strong, like very strong, like steel.
Okay, so solid. So some items will come in solids. A solid would be like a brick, clay, glass, solids. So solids are items that they keep their shape. They're hard, okay? This would be a solid, right? It has a shape, right? I can't bend it and none of that, right? It's a solid, okay? Some solids are shapeable like clay, but it's still a solid. We just can mold it into different things, but it's still a solid. Some solids are stretchy like rubber bands. Some break easily, but a solid holds its shape. It isn't something that's easily breakable. It can, some of them can, you can mold it in different ways, but it's still a solid. So solid are like bricks, clay, glass, wood. That's all examples of solid. Yes. Okay, page 140. Let's talk about liquids. Avaya, 140. Liquids.
Some kind of matter can be produced: milk, oil, dish soap, or all liquid matters. Liquid matters does not hold its shape, but it fills up the shape of the container. All liquid matter can be produced, but all liquids do not feel the same. Some liquids are sticky as honey or syrup. Some liquids are thick and gooey like slime. The water we drink is a smooth, wet liquid.
Okay, so some matter can come as a liquid. A liquid is obviously something that we can pour, right? Oil, milk, dish soap, water. These are all examples of liquids, right? It does not hold its shape, because if it's in a bottle, it's going to shape the bottle, but when you pour it out, it loses its shape. So solids hold their shape, some of them, but liquids do not. You can pour liquids. Some are thick, some are gooey, some are smooth, and some are sticky, but a liquid is something that we can pour, a liquid. Okay, next we have gas. Kinley, gas on 141, gas.
The air around you matters. It's not oxygen. You are breathing, but it is the gas. Your lungs smell for your body. Carbon dioxide is a gas you can breathe out. Maybe you have played with helium at a fire. The helium is a gas you cannot see. When it fills up the balloon floats up into the air. All gases have weight. Some gases are heavier or lighter than others. Helium is lighter than air. That is why a helium is right.
Okay, so next we have gas. So the air around you is matter as well. We can't see it, but we know that the air is oxygen. That's what we're breathing in. So carbon dioxide is also another gas as well. Now gases, you usually don't see it. You can't see a gas or anything, but helium, for example, we know it's a gas, and helium is the gas that fills up balloons, right? If you go to the balloon store and they blow it up with that big thing, like a tube, that's helium inside of there. So helium is another example of a gas. Again, you can't see the gas, but you know that it's there because you know the effects. Like we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. We can't see them, they're gases, but we know that they exist. So the three states of matter are solids, liquids, and gases. All three of them are different. Now, there's only one thing that can be in all three states. Only one thing can be all three, solid, liquid, and gas. Let's talk about it on 142. 142, let's talk about that one thing that can be all three. Okay, Narayan?
When we think of water, we usually think of it in its liquid form. Our bodies need water, plants need water. We even swim in water. Did you? We even swim in water. Did you know that water is not always liquid? Water can be three stages of matter: solid, liquid, or gas. If water gets cold enough, it can freeze. When it freezes, it becomes solid. We call it ice. Ice is usually for keeping things cold. Ice can also be fun. Have you ever tried to ice skate on it? If ice can melt that into a liquid, maybe you have seen coming from the food cooking on a stove. What is this thing made of? Water. Water can be a gas if it is heat enough. Water. What? Okay.
So water is one thing that can be all three states. Water can be a solid, it could be a liquid, and it can be a gas as well. Okay, if water gets cold enough, it'll freeze. That's a solid. When we call it ice, right? And so whenever it melts back to a liquid, right? And then when we'll talk about the water cycle next week, when water evaporates and it goes back into the air, into the clouds, it's now a gas, okay? So you have water can be a solid as ice, it could be a liquid as water that you drink, and it can be a gas as well, okay? So let's talk about on 143, what makes it change?
What makes matter change? Let's think about what happened to water. If heat energy is taken away from water, it freezes to ice, making it a solid. If heat energy is added to ice, it will melt and change from being a solid to a liquid again. What if heat energy is added to liquid water? It will change from a liquid to a gas.
Okay, so water can change its state in different ways, right? If you take away the heat from water, obviously it's going to freeze because it's cold and it's going to make a solid. If heat is added to the ice, it will melt, like I said, and it will change into a liquid again, water. And then if heat is added to the liquid, it'll evaporate. Think about like whenever you have a hot cup of something, right? Don't you see the smoke coming out of that cup of water maybe? Or like if you're boiling water on the stove, you'll see the heat, that's the evaporated water. And so the heat is the steam, that's the gas, okay? So water is the only thing that can change into all three states. It can be a solid, a liquid, and a gas, okay? Let's talk about 144, the air around us, the atmosphere. Air is real, okay, Dennis? No, I'm sorry, not yet. Ready?
Well, how come friends give us oxygen, but it's not here? Air is real. Air is all around us. We cannot see it. We cannot taste it or smell it, but it is there. When it moves, we can feel it. We learn that air is matter. That means that it is real and takes of space. Air is a group and gas of gases that are mixed together in special amounts. God designed air with carefully measured amounts of gas so that people, animals, and plants can live. The air around us has the perfect amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other important gases. Plants need carbon dioxide. Do you remember? Need oxygen.
Okay. So we know that air is all around us. Like I said earlier, we can't see it or taste it or smell it, but we know that the air is there. Air is also matter. It's a gas as well. Okay. So air is a group of gases that are mixed together in different amounts. Okay. God designed the air to have the perfect amount of gases in it where we are able to breathe, animals can live, plants can live, and like I said, humans, we also can live as well. So the air around us has the perfect amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other gases that are important. Okay, 145, let's talk about the atmosphere, Dennis.
The atmosphere is a band of air around the Earth's core called the atmosphere. It acts like a protective blanket both of planet safe and warm.
Yeah, you can read the bottom. Unmute it, then, yeah, the bottom.
Our atmosphere shields the Earth from getting too hot, but it also keeps us from getting too cold. During the daytime, the Earth absorbs the sun's heat energy. But at night, the Earth gives off its energy into the atmosphere, which did not work that way. All life on Earth went crazy. God gave us the right kind of atmosphere. It gives our planet the best temperature and the perfect kinds of gases for life. Aren't you glad God designed the atmosphere the way He did?
Okay, so the special air that is around the Earth is called the atmosphere. That's what we just were talking about. That's all the gases that are beneficial for us to survive. Those gases are inside of the atmosphere. So it's like a protective blanket that keeps our planet safe and warm. Okay, so the atmosphere will shield the Earth from getting too hot, but it also shields the Earth from getting too cold as well. So during the daytime, the Earth will take in the sun's heat energy, but at night, the Earth will give off heat into the atmosphere. Okay, so during the day, the atmosphere is soaking in the heat, but then at night, the Earth is giving the heat back to the atmosphere. Okay, if that didn't work like that, everything would be super cold. It would because we need the sun, right? The sun warms the Earth. We talked about that when we talked about energy. So yeah, it would have been super cold. So we need the atmosphere to help balance out the heat, but also to keep it from getting too cold as well. So the atmosphere helps to keep the temperature just right, not too hot, not too cold. Okay, let's talk about why the sky looks blue on 146. Savaya?
How does the atmosphere make our sky blue?
I'm not really looking.
Our daytime sky is a beautiful blue because of how the atmosphere works. The atmosphere is made of molecules in the air. The closer we are to the Earth, the more molecules there are in the air. If we were to leave the Earth and go beyond the atmosphere into space, there would be no molecules. When we look at the sky, we are looking at sunlight shining through the air. Light is made up out of every color in the rainbow. When it shines through air, we see the most is blue.
Okay. You have more or no? Yeah, keep going.
The closer we are to the Earth, the lighter the blue in the sky. If we could stand on top of the highest mountain, the molecules of the sun would shine through in space, and the sky would be completely dark because there is no air for the sun to shine through.
Okay, so the air is made of a bunch of molecules. Okay, the closer we are to Earth, the more molecules there are in the air. If we were to leave Earth, like space, and go beyond that, there's no molecules. That's why it's a lot darker there. But the reason why the sky is the blue is because when the sun is shining through the atmosphere, it gives off a blue color. That's what you need to know for the test. Why is the sky blue? Because the sun shining through the atmosphere makes the sky appear blue. So that's why we're able to see the color blue like we do, because that's the sun shining through the air. That's how that works. Okay.
So the air is
Yeah. No, the air is no color. It's clear.
clear.
But the sun shining through the air is what makes it look.
Oh, that's what I told you. But it's not blue. Sky's not blue.
Okay, so that's why it's blue, because of the sun shining through it, it gives off the blue color, okay? All right. All right, that's it for our, hold on.
Science.
Yes, that's it for science. So on the states of matter and also on the atmosphere, the air and changing matter. All right, let's go to your social studies. Talk about some people in America. Page 142.
When we remember.
You might want to turn around and see if there's already.
And salty.
All right, so let's talk about some inventions that changed America in different ways over time. So America has grown tremendously. People have come to America. They started their own businesses. They've done their own things. And as America starts to grow even more inventions are created. So let's go ahead and talk about those things. Let's start with the sleeping car on 142. Who just read? Avaya? All right, Kenley. 142, the sleeping car. No, I had just kind of said that.
What page, Miss Flugin?
142, the sleeping car.
142.
Yes, and your social studies.
America, wait, no. And was changing and
Wait, hold on. Who is that? No, that was not in first grade too.
David.
All right. Sleeping car.
Transportation was in our country. Cattle, people, and goods could be moved quickly from place to place because of the railroad. The invention of the Pullman car made it much easier for people to travel. People enjoyed being able to get some rest or sleep while traveling by train. Yeah, that would have been. No. Not yet.
Okay, so one of the first inventions we can talk about is the sleeping car, the Pullman sleeping car. So the invention of the sleeping car made it easier for people to travel. Yes, the railroad was invented, but the railroad didn't offer a place for people to rest and sleep because sometimes their railroad trips would take a while, right? So the Pullman sleeping car was invented to give people an easier way to travel, a more comfortable way to travel when they were traveling by train. So they had beds and rooms and different things like that inside of this train, the Pullman sleeping car, which made travel a lot more comfortable and easy so people could sleep and rest while on the train. And 143, let's talk about the assembly line.
The assembly line. Many years ago, men had to build cars or marbles one at a time.
Automobiles.
Automobiles one at a time by hand because it took a long time to make them. Only wealthy people had cars. When the man named Harry Ford thought of a faster way to build things, he called it assembly line to assemble for a document. Each person had his own special job to do. Instead of one person doing many jobs, the workers learned to work quickly, and cars could be assembled faster and for less money. Soon many Americans were buying cars.
All right, so after the train was invented, eventually the first car was invented as well. So the first set of cars that were invented were built by hand. So imagine how long that would usually take for a car to be built, right? It would take months for cars to be built. Well, not that long, but just it would take a long time. So cars were limited. Not everybody was able to have a car. But there was a man named Henry Ford, and he didn't invent cars, but he invented an idea called the assembly line. The assembly line would be a line where the process of building a car would go a lot faster. You would have groups of people in each part of the car, and they would build it. So you would have those that work on the engine, those that build the doors, those that build the windows, those that will build the inside of the car. So the assembly line helped to assemble cars. The first cars were Ford. That's a brand. I'm not sure if you heard of Ford before. Yeah, that's a brand of car. That was the first American car, was a Ford. Okay, and so by hand, it took many days to assemble the car, but with the assembly line, it took less than 2 hours to build a whole car. So imagine how much cars they could get out a lot faster once the assembly line was created. And Henry Ford was the one who created the assembly line. So the assembly line helped to issue out cars a lot faster. Then over time, the assembly line was used for several different things. That's why today, you can get a product like a toy, right? They can make hundreds, maybe even thousands of one toy. And that's because today's factories have assembly lines where it's moving faster. Now we have machines inside of there now too, and everything is built faster. So the assembly line made it a faster way to get products out. Okay, 144, let's talk about the airplane. So we are building on transportation. We started with the train, then the Pullman sleeping car, then we have cars, and now we have the airplane, 144.
Have you ever heard of the Twin Brothers? They wonder, will it ever be possible for men to fly? First, they built a glider. They took it to a sandy beach, a Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
The glider.
A successful, but the Twin Brothers think wait, what? Right when they decided to act in it took them almost a year to build their first airplane. After a new try, it 119. Right field 852 feet. 852 feet. Yeah, over the time airplanes today, jet planes carry people across America around the world.
Okay, so the Wright brothers were two brothers who were determined to create, well, to answer the question, would it ever be possible for men to fly? So the first thing they built was a glider, okay? And so they built a glider, they took it to a beach, and the glider was a success, but the glider wouldn't go on for a long time. It would be able to fly and, go in the air, but the glider did not last super long inside of the air, okay? And so they tried to improve their gliders, and they made a couple of flights on the gliders, but like I said, they wouldn't last long in the air. So they decided to put an engine on the glider, and they realized by adding the engine to the glider, it made it go a lot longer and a lot faster, okay? So then after some time, they finally built their first airplane. And after a few tries, in 1903, he was able to fly 800 feet, which is long for that time. Now we know planes can go a lot further now, but at that time, that was a big deal. Okay, that's like 3 football fields together. That's how long it was. So it was a pretty good flight. Okay, and so at the time when it was invented, people could not believe that men created planes. Okay, but over time, just like from the glider to the first airplane, they continued to make improvements, and eventually, they were able to create planes like we see today. So the invention of planes started with the Wright brothers, and now we see jets and big, large planes today that can travel hours at a time before having to stop. Okay, so Amelia Earhart was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and her last flight was an attempt to actually fly the world, but unfortunately she went missing during that journey. Okay, so now we have the invention of the airplane. Okay, no, that's a whole different thing. Okay, so 145, now let's talk about the telephone being invented as well. The telephone. All right, who's next?
Wait, 16 cameras. Other things were being invented in our country too. A man named Alexander Graham Bell. So weird name. Who had come to America from Scotland. Taught students who were deaf and mute or unable to speak. As he worked with his students and taught them to talk, he began to think of a telephone. He worked on his ideas in 1876. Bell called his assistant over a telephone wire. He said, Mr. Weston, come here. I want you. Mr. Watson, come. Running the telephone worked. Later in 1915, Mr. Bell called Mr. Watson after look, face right here. Right here, right? Was in California. So many homes and business had telephones.
Okay, so now we have transportation over the years, and now we have the invention of the telephone, a way to communicate. So it was very hard to communicate with people who were across in different states. So the invention of the telephone changed that. Alexander Graham Bell had come to America from Scotland, and he usually taught students who were deaf and mute and unable to speak. So he worked with students, and over time he began to think of a telephone. He said, I would like to create something. Well, that's what can I finish? So he wanted to create a way people could communicate with one another besides having to write a letter, waiting on a letter. A telephone would make it faster and easier to communicate with others. So he worked on his idea. Okay. And so in 1876, he called his assistant over a telephone wire. She was in one room, he was in another room, and he called her and he said, Mr. Watson, come here, I want you. So Mr. Watson came in, the telephone worked. Then in 1915, so this was like over 30 years later, that's how long it took him to work on this thing. He called Mr. Watson again with the same message, but this time he was in New York and Mr. Watson was in California. So that was like the first long distance call. New York is on the East Coast, California is on the West Coast. So that was the first long distance call. So the telephone invention worked. So the phone, of course, has developed over the years. The telephone used to have numbers. It was called rotary phone, where you had to spin it to dial the number. Yeah. Then eventually that changed, and then they had where you could just dial the number. That changed, and now we're all the way down to cell phones. And even cell phones have changed over the years as well, right? Cell phones did not always look like this at all, where it was like it was so easy. Yeah. So there used to be flip phones, right? So now you can text and call people anywhere. It's a lot easier to work on the phone. So just like all excuse me, just like all inventions, they developed over time. They got better and better over time. Okay, so Alexander Graham Bell invented the first telephone. Okay, let's talk about 146, Thomas Edison, and all the different things he invented. All right, Dennis, back to you, 146. What you mean?
No. Stop. What? Harley is mine.
Another American Thomas Edison worked to make a light bulb, worked with a light bulb that would burn more than just a minute or two. Kindly, after 2 years of experimenting, he was useful before the invention of the electricity light bulb. Americans lit up their homes with oil burning lamps. Many people could now use light their homes using electricity. Mr. Edison later made a photograph that he would record, play and play sounds. He also invented the first motion pictures. In all, Thomas Edison had more than 1,000 inventions. These inventions helped many Americans today with more than that they helped build our country. And who made America a land of opportunity.
You mean social studies said we already did all of that. We already did social.
All right, so we have the light bulb, which was invented by Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison wanted to make a light that would burn more for than just a minute or two. He wanted something that would last a long time. So years of experiments, and he finally invented the electric light bulb. Before that, people would light their homes with like a lamp, an oil burning lamp, where they would heat up the oil and it would light up. But that was, that was, that kind of wasn't what he wanted anymore. And not just that, but it wasn't as last longing. You had to make sure you had the oil, all of that. So he wanted to invent a way where a light bulb would light for an extended amount of time. So he did this with electricity as well. And so he didn't invent electricity. Electricity was always a thing. He just used the electricity to light a light bulb. Okay. And so finally he got it and it was able to light a long time. He also invented the phonograph that could record and play back sound, right? The phonograph. So that's like a way of recording music and playing it back. He invented the first motion picture. A motion picture is a movie. He invented the first way to record and video movies to make movies. So he invented a lot of cool things. The light bulb, phonograph, where you can record music and play it back, and then motion pictures where video cameras where you could record a movie. Okay? Yeah. All right, let's talk about Garrett Morgan on 147 and his inventions. He was a Black inventor. 147. Baya, 147.
This taking 60,000 years.
Light bulbs, photographs,
Wait, 147.
more America, inventions, and scientists. There are many American scientists and inventors who wanted to make a difference in the lives of others. Here are a few. Garrett Morgan always thought of the safety of others. He worked on his invention. He invented a breathing mask that could protect some from breathing poisonous air. At first, no one had to use his invention, but on July 1916, there was an explosion in the tunnel where men were working. The men were trapped in danger of breathing poisonous air. Someone remembered Garrett Morgan's breathing mask, and Mr. Morgan was called. Once he got to the tunnel, he led a resource that saved several men. His invention would save many lives during war. War I. Firefighters and soldiers also been protecting because of his breathing mask. Garrett Morgan continued to think of the safety of others. As he worked, he later invented the traffic light, which was made driving much safer. The next time your family stops at a red light, think of Morgan and other people who work to keep you safe.
Okay, so Garrett Morgan was an inventor who wanted to invent, different things that would be beneficial. One of those being the breathing mask, right? Because if the air became poisonous in some way, there was no way to protect yourself from the poisonous air. So he decided to invent the breathing mask, right? And eventually, no one had no use for it, but it was invented. But then on July 25th, 1916, there was an explosion and the air was poisonous. This was a perfect time to get the gas mask that Garrett Morgan invented. And so that was a very beneficial invention for that time. And not just that, but today, firefighters, soldiers, several different people, several different businesses will use a breathing mask. Careers use breathing masks as a part of their career. So his invention is popular today, and it was very important as well. And it's also called a gas mask as well, but they're the same thing. And he also invented the traffic light. Now, we know the traffic light is very important, right?
Yeah.
It controls traffic, and there was no traffic light, cars would go everywhere. But because of his invention, the traffic is decent. All right, let's look at 148. Norman Borlaug. Okay, Kinley, Norman Borlaug on 148.
These kids. I think somebody running red light. Yeah. They stopped and then they just ran. They knew.
Okay, 148.
Police was right there.
Okay.
Norman Borlaug grew up in Iowa. I don't know. His parents came from the Norway, where he has many people suffer from hunger. As he grew up, Norman wished he could find a way to help people that didn't have food. Mr. Borlaug began to study plants. He worked with a man named Henry Wallace. Mr. Wallace had learned to love.
All right, so reading, we're on 47.
To love the study of plants from his friend George Washington Carver.
Recording in progress. All right.
Norman Borlaug discovered helped starving country find better ways to grow food. It is said that Norman Borlaug's work saved more than 2 billion people from starving.
Okay, so Norman Borlaug grew up in Iowa. His parents came from Norway. And in Norway, they saw a lot of people suffer and with hunger and not having food. So Norman came to America and vowed to change that to where there would never run out of food here. So he began to study plants. He worked with some people, George Washington Carver, Mr. Wallace, and he discovered a way to develop seeds that would be able to grow in different parts of the world at all times, so they would never run out of food. So that's basically what he did. Okay, at 149, let's talk about Dr. Robert Cherney. Yeah, I've seen that. You okay? All right.
Roger Cherney's faith made challenges when he was young. After his mother died, he helped provide for his family, but he didn't give up on learning. He learned in his college. When he was 40 years old during World War II, Dr. Johnny provided the medicine. After the war, he wanted to do something else to make a difference. So he became a scientist for NASA. He designed many things that made space and moon explore easier to help others in his country. He always was thankful for God's help in learning and leading in his life.
Okay, so we're going to the bee. Okay, what happens to the bee at the beginning of the story? He falls in the water and he can get out. And so who sees him or her struggling to get out? The dove, right? So what does the dove get? He puts in water. 28. Brady. Okay, so Dr. Robert faced a lot of challenges as he grew up, but this did not stop him from pursuing education. He actually did not graduate college until he was 40, which is a lot older and later in life, but he did not let that stop him. So during World War II, he was a medic. Then he decided to become a scientist for NASA. NASA is a place where they study space and the planets and different things like that. And he developed a lot of different things that helped NASA with their discoveries and their explorations as well. So he was a big contributor to a lot of things that NASA was able to build and create, Dr. Robert Cherney, okay? All right, let's go to 150. That's our last page. Let's talk about more inventors.
Hey, that was my book phone.
Yeah, Vaya, that's fine. Okay. It's Igor Skorsky. That's the name that you have to read.
Igor
Okay.
Igor Skorsky was born in Russia, but immigrants. Great. Not great. Upstairs. He later invented.
Okay. So the bee threw, the dove threw the bee in the water to help the bee. The bee climbed on the leaf and was able to get out of the water. Okay. So one day the dove is in her nest and comes by and brings harm to the dove.
Then
The boy throws a stone at the dove, right? Let's see what happens to 49.
Two. Five berries. And two. Two 5 berries. 2 brain saplings. 2 and people in need 5 berries. So people in need a strip.
Okay. So when the boy threw the stone, how did the bee off the dove? What did the bee do?
What
One boy and ran off. And so he dropped the stone, ran off, and now the bee. So they help one another. That's why I feel to be kind of others and help others. You know, when your time for help will come along.
Is a hand
So that's good. All right, what are you doing? 50?
popular
Okay, take 50. No.
Mr. Wing even for competent to remember instance were into Mrs. the Brown Wing was to a planet and from the phrase like name It's in the Venom Hall of Fame.
Okay, so Igor Skorsky invented the helicopter. Okay, and a helicopter is what the purpose of a helicopter is a smaller plane. We know that, but it's usually used to like rescue, bring supplies. It's a lot smaller and easier to travel faster with a helicopter. Mary Anderson invented the windshield wiper on cars to wipe whenever bad weather's rain or snow. The windshield wiper will wipe it away. And Dr. Wang invented computers to remember information. Okay, so those are all the different inventors that helped invent a lot of important inventions over the years in America. So that's your social studies. All right, guys, go ahead and get out your you need a sleep paper for your new prepositions list. I don't know if you have your old paper. We're adding 2 more lists this week. Hopefully you're keeping your paper so we can add more lists. Okay, so we have the wolf and the dog. A wolf needs a dog, right? Playing in the field. Dog was fat and healthy. He looked like he had a lot to eat. And the wolf, unfortunately, he fat and healthy like that. No, he was a lot thinner. Right? So he's like, you're a lucky dog. You have a lot of things. But the field dog said, okay. Talk to her, 51.
We just talked about how much.
51, Carol. Yes, prepositions list, guys. We're gonna add 7 and 8 today. All right, let's go ahead and review prepositions. What is a preposition again?
A preposition.
Preposition is a word
It's a
that
word
shows the
that shows
relationship of a pronoun or another word in a sentence.
That's right. Preposition is a word that shows the relationship of a noun or pronoun to another word in a sentence. So we've covered all of our lists so far. If you have your list, let's go through them. List 1, what are the prepositions? For and about, above, across. List 2. After, against, among, or at. Good. List 3.
List 3,
Before, behind, below, beneath. List 4.
beside, between, behind, behind.
Beside, between, beyond, by. Then last week we did list 6 and 5 and 6. List 5.
Down,
And list 6 was in. Good. In, inside, into, like. Good. So I believe we have list 7 and list 8 this week, and next week we'll finish off with list 9 and list 10. Okay. No, this is the last thing we learned.
Oh, yeah.
No, school will be out.
Yes.
I know, whatever, but anyway. All right, so these are your 2 lists this week, list 7 and list 8. These are your prepositions. So list 7 prepositions are near, of, off, on, over. And list 8 prepositions are past, since, through, and throughout. These are a little easier to learn this week. So go ahead and write these down, list 7 and list 8. All right, so that's your list that you'll have to know this week. Tomorrow we'll practice our list in sentences, preparing for the test on Thursday, okay? So your spelling list this week is only your list in your book. We're finished with our Greek and Latin. So whatever list is in your book, that's your words for this week. So we only have 20 words this week for spelling, okay? All right, y'all have a good afternoon. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Bible, okay? Bye-bye.